We are back, my friends. It is now 6:01 p.m. Eastern Time, live from New York City. We talked to you a little bit before. In fact, we were on the air at 4:45 when we learned that Charlie Kirk had died, and we are absolutely again trying to figure out exactly where this is, how we figure this, how we deal with it. It's very, very difficult. And don't be surprised if you're not able to articulate specifically what it is that you're feeling. You don't have to feel anything, and you're not going to be tested on how well you articulate something, how well you explain it. Because if anybody who's ever been through any form of grief, the first part of it, the first feeling is one of shock and dismay. Understand this? This is the part that you have to understand. It is very easy to just go berserk and to extrapolate and move and take this into any direction you want. I'm not going to stop you. We all have different ways of dealing with grief. I don't think that way. This is not the end of civilization. This is not America. As I told you before, our country is filled with assassination, filled with it, unfortunately. Unfortunately. But the thing is, I find myself, and you will as well, thinking, I don't know him, I didn't know him, but he was ubiquitous. 1 minute he's tossing hats to a crowd, and the next minute, that's it. And then when there were pictures of him actually being shot, I didn't know if they were AI or what have you. I didn't know. Which is a separate issue. But right now, I wouldn't say America is reeling from a political assassination, because that's what this was. Because a lot of people are so cold and nasty, they hate everybody. They're probably laughing at it. They're going to say he got what he asked for. By the way, the most despicable person of them all. Make sure you make a note of Katie Tur. Make sure you make a note of Katie Tur. Do we have your word on that? Katie Tur, short for turd. Katie Tur. You understand this? Katie Tur. Listen to this one. An MSNBC guest sickly speculated that the person who shot Charlie Kirk in the neck could have been one of his supporters firing a gun in celebration. You don't know. We don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, the guest told MSNBC anchor Katie Tur after Mr. Kerr was shot. We have no idea, he told the Liberal Network. We don't know any of the full details of this. The shooter is believed to have shot from about 200 yards away, but we don't know. So this is it. Katie Tur. Now, she could say, hey, look, that was my guest. That was my guest. I can't be held responsible. Remember Katie Tur, who I believe it was her father who threatened to break Ben Shapiro's back. But that's for a reason that we have nothing to discuss right now. But we are reeling. We are mourning. We are sad. We are feeling incredibly connected to somebody we didn't know. From a political assassination that strikes at the very heart of our democracy. A man who just wanted to meet with people, who wanted to discuss. That was his shtick. There's going to be implications now about liability on these campuses or on these areas. Were they given any kind of prior intel briefing as to who might have been any threats? We don't know. We don't know anything. We don't know what goes on. He's not an elected official, as in the case of President Trump. It's a different story. But Charlie Kirk, this young, 31 years old, this young conservative leader who built Turning Point USA into a national force. Think about this. Gunned down on a college campus in Utah. In Utah, why? I don't know. I don't know. Will we find out? No. Is the person who did this crazy? Probably not. Evil? What has every assassin been? Crazy? No, not at all. He was just 31 years old. His wife, Erica, his family, his supporters, all left. Now, there is no word to explain what it is that they are feeling. To say devastated? I don't think so. By the way, Adam Burkett, a new member. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for joining us, for being a member of us. I wish we'd have met initially in better circumstances. But right now, his family, his friends are in shock. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to read this. They're not. It hasn't hit. He won't be coming home. Daddy, husband, will not be coming home. You ever seen trying to tell kids this? Oh. This takes an art to be a grief counselor for a child. Because the number one fear that kids have initially is abandonment. That's why the movie Home Alone was so scary for kids, because it was this thing that they feared, abandonment. And we kind of laughed at it like, oh, no, it's not funny to them. This is an act of violence that took their father away in his country. And the question is, why? Breadmoth joins us. Breadmoth, thank you. Breadmoth says, I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend your right to say it. Seems to me that if you are opposed to fascism, you have no issue silencing someone in this manner. Then you are yourself a fascist. The left at this point are fascists. Breadmoth, it would appear to be, but here is the issue. Here is the issue. Is it the left? I don't know. The left don't do this. The right, most people, let me say this again. And let me give you the 99%, 99% of it. We don't do anything. We don't know. A, this person was a leftist. B, this person wanted ultimately to be famous, to be into the three-lettered name, famous. This person will have a manifesto. If President Trump wanted, and if there was justice, he could be on the phone immediately, and tell, hey, Peter Thiel, Zuckerberg, yeah. Who else is there? Anybody else? Zuckerberg's got WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. Oh, Elon, I want you to run through everything and see if we have a manifesto. In the millisecond, they say, got him right here. Here he is. Here he is. Look for the keywords. Because if he's like anybody else, he's left word. He's left a script. He's left a reason for what it is that he did. That's exactly what he'll do. He will have left a reason for this. So they could be left, they could be this, they could be glory seeking, could be a false flag, could be somebody else. Let me also tell you something. The chance for a bullet around to go astray and hit some innocent person, just somebody who's just there, somebody who's just some kid. People are going to reconsider whether they want to go to these things. They're not going to go to crowds. They're just not going to want to. As we speak, the radical left, I guarantee you, is saying, if the person is transgender, we don't want to know about it. If the person is black, we don't want to know about it. If the person is a black female, we don't want to know about If the person is, I don't know what else there is, normally trans or non-binary or gay, we don't want to hear about it. Anybody else, we want to hear about it. Then again, you wonder, well, why would they be of that? Because that's how news is determined today by virtue of who the particular assailant is and what check mark can apply. That's what's happening with that particular group. So let's be clear right now. This wasn't just an attack on one man. This was an attack on free speech, on the right to speak, not popular, not unpopular, not any kind of truth, but just the right to speak. It is that simple. Breadmouth says, you might be right, but I respectfully disagree. While both sides, left and right, have been violent, it is the left right now that has the greater numbers in terms of violence. This adds to it. Yes, that could very well be. I'm not going to listen. I thank you for your kindness. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue. But already you're saying this is left. I mean, that makes sense to me. But 99% of all the people on the left don't do this. I mean, I don't understand. During every iteration, every time there was, during the Jim Crow South, when the Klan used to hoist crosses, and claim to be Christians, and most Christians said, that's not us. What are you talking about? So we can do this. I'm not going to argue with you. He may very well have been left, but the left doesn't do that. Again, you're right. I mean, it's moot at this point. You know what? Who cares? Let the left come out and talk about this. Look at this lunatic, by the way, he's schizophrenic. This D. Carlos, D. Guilty guy who stabbed this poor Rena. Look at him. I hate people are jumping out of their way to support this guy. You see, this is the right to challenge the radical orthodoxy of the left. And when you have Charlie Kirk, who is this firebrand who is speaking, who, by the way, drew a big crowd because all the people who were there to see him were aiding and abetting his speech. I guess they're guilty too. He was very popular. I mean, Charlie Kirk was not some outlier, some one-off, guy he wasn't, Tiny Tim. He was the Beatles. People loved this. People loved him. He spoke for a lot of people. He was not rare at all. And as Charlie Kirk lay bleeding, Charlie probably had commented on the death of this poor Rena just the day before. He never thought this was it. See, because you kind of think, those in the biz, you figure, I'm here and I'm not really that important. We never found out about Vegas, Kennedy's, MLK extension. Vegas, we found out, well, we know who Mr. Paddock was. We don't know the actual, we have the names of the people in the Kennedys, at least the ostensible assassins, but we don't really know. I don't believe, and by the way, thank you, Pilgrim. We don't know if they're the truth or not. See, today, it was very important. Kamala Harris, Charlie Kirk, Kamala Harris, and even Nancy Pelosi came out and denounced this. Franco says, I would like to thank Charlie. I would like to think Charlie would want us to first support his family in this trying time, and second, pick up the microphone that he dropped and continue the dialogue that he started. Oh, absolutely. I thank you for that. And by the way, they're going to hold him to this notion, this idea. They're going to hold him to this idea, this notion that because of his gun advocacy, that he somehow had this coming, or I mean, it does. See, one of the things you have to, I see my good friend Sandy. Oh, bless your heart. 5 apples, big bro. We tend to think that people who advocate things advocate. For example, I believe that there should not be. I believe that there should not be at any time any kind of any kind of a criminalization of drugs. I don't believe in it. I don't believe that people who possess drugs should go to prison. That's just not the way to deal with it. There's other ways to do it. But if somebody dies of a fentanyl overdose, you can't turn around and say, well, there you go. See, you blame this thing. No, I never advocated that. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in the right to possess firearms. I believe in the Bruin case, in the Heller case. I believe in the Supreme Court. I believe in what Tench Cox, our great founding father, our forebear, said. I believe in that 100%. But I don't believe in this. So you can try to make connections with me, and and there are people who are saying, well, he said some terrible things about transgender. If this turns out to be, and we don't have any indication of this, but this person turns out to be some transgendered, but all bets are off. Let me say something right now, very, very carefully. We are on the verge of a race war. Not something I want to see. But I'm hearing things for the longest time. Have you heard it too? Have you heard? I've heard a lot of people saying about a lot of terrible things. Understand this? Understand this? Now, let me tell you something. Let me go back. People are saying, well, I hope the guy wasn't a registered Republican. Do us a favor. Don't worry about this. It doesn't matter if he could be Donald Trump Jr. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. Hey, good news, Erica Kirk, yeah, and little Kirks. Your father was killed by a radical lefty, not somebody on the right. Oh, that's good news. Thanks. Well, he didn't die in vain. What? No. I don't like all these groups, but I have nothing to do with them. I'm a staunch believer in there's so much about Trump that I really like. But I remember those January 6 guys with the camouflage and all that? I think these people were crazy. These people were nuts. I have nothing to do with these people. While I don't think they should have been in any way kept for indefinitely, like in some gulag, some underground star chamber. I don't believe in that for a moment. But I also don't believe in walking around with Cammy like I'm some kind of a militia dude in the Wild West. I'm Jeremiah Johnson. No, that's not my thing. So what I'm saying is, you can think a variety of things and not necessarily endorse every means or every way that it's stated, if you will. Let me tell you something. What do you think too many people on the left did? This is what's sick. They laughed. They gloated. They tweeted. They tweeted jokes. They treated assassination as a punchline. Think about that. It's not political discourse. That's moral rot. It's decay. It's moral putrescence. How about that? I'm trying to think of somebody who might have been... I forget what it was. I am not somebody who gets upset over these things. I'm going to get upset. I'm very, very sad. But I don't get mad. I don't hate my political enemies. I don't hate them. They're going to be here. They've always been here. It's so interesting when you say, boy, these lefties, you don't know how bad it was before in the old days. It was so bad, so vile, so vicious, so incredibly horrible that what people were saying on a regular basis blows away anything that we're saying right now. Anything. Seriously. During Abraham Lincoln, oh my God, they called him an ape. It's really bad. During the Grover Cleveland days, they were going to take out FDR. Let me say this again. My friends, listen, for those who think these are terrible times, what's going on right now? From 1963 to 1965, and don't hold me to the particular order, but we had JFK, RFK, MLK, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, and there was also during that time assassination attempts against Gerald Ford, Teddy Roosevelt, FDR, Reagan, Trump. We have more guns now than we ever have. More guns than you ever imagined. 1.2 guns per citizen in this country. And when you hear that noise, it sounds like a crack. It's not a bang, it's a crack. And you know it. You know it. Mantoni Nick says this will have a chilling effect on Nick Fuentes and his family and his free speech advocacy of every class. No, it won't. Thank you for this. No, it won't. I thank you, sir. No, it won't. And it shouldn't. Nick Fuentes says some things that are absolutely spot on. This took place, Nate, in Utah. Let's go back to this in a moment. President Trump here's the latest. President Trump has spoken forcefully, honoring Charlie Kirk as a great American and promising full federal support in the investigation. Just don't put Pam Bondi in there. Just kidding. She'll release a list. Leaders on both sides of the aisle have condemned the violence. But we know the truth, my friends. Conservatives are held to one standard and the left to another. And when one of their own is attacked, it's wall-to-wall sympathy. Oh, my God. George Floyd, the man who died had a drug overdose during an arrest. And the leg on the neck, which was a certified instructed police hold, had nothing to do with his ultimate demise, his dispatch. But they made him out to be, they were out on their knees wearing kente cloths. George Floyd had as much to do with Africa as I do. George Floyd was a slug, pond scum, vermin, a hominid, a waste of flesh. But they elevated him to this apotheosis, through this beatification, this edification, this elevation. Oh my God, it was a road, St. George of Florida. And we had rioting. And this poor girl, this Irina Zaleska in Charlotte, of course. Her mother says, no, she wants to be buried in America. She loved America. Stabbed by this verbal. Who had a tough guy going? He's black. You know what it's like. Say it. If you're black, oh well. We live in a world right now where we are under siege by a bunch of bonnet-wearing LaFondas who decide to go apeshit at a Chipotle if they don't get their barbecue sauce. Think I'm kidding? Bread Moth says, yes, plenty of Floyd murals, but nothing for Irina Zarutska. Just like the Democrats don't like Ukrainians. Well, they love Ukrainians. Theoretically, they love the money. Pilgrim says, unfortunately, they may be copycats of reprisal. Could be. Pilgrim, this at any time, and by the way, this could be any time. Anytime. I want to know how this guy got away. To have a rifle go, he was at an elevated position. They didn't catch him yet? Thank you, Woodchuck. Thank you so much for that. What are you talking about? But you see, what we were saying was, when it's a conservative, they reach for excuses. They minimize it. Reginaldo Villalon says, I had just left criminal court in Anahuac, Texas, as a criminal defense lawyer when my legal assistant, my own nephew, said that Charlie Kirk has just been shot. Charlie Kirk personified an inimitable type of courage and intelligence. Absolutely. And you know, Reginaldo, by the way, muchísimas gracias, señor. I don't believe Mr. Kirk went to college, or I don't know. He knew his stuff. He was young. He was bold. He, Candace Owens, and Shapiro, and Laura Loomer, Nick Fuentes, all of them bold, brave. You may not like what they have to say, but they've got balls. They've got guts. They're intrepid. They show an intrepidity that I think is something that we need to see more of. Because you see, most people, as you know, sit on their ass and do nothing. They do absolutely nothing. They stand for nothing. They don't do anything. They don't do anything. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this again. I don't think you heard me. They don't do anything. But these folks did. Somebody says, well, they were paid. Let them be paid handsomely for spreading the truth. Good for them. Remember, this is the thing too, is people think, well, I don't like everything. Don't even bother saying that. Candace Owens is going to get her ass handed to her with that stupid case regarding Brigitte Macron being a man, being a dude. She's not, but anyway. She's not but that doesn't mean that she's, I can find stuff in everybody. The question is, you're out there doing it. I never cared for the Ramones. I never cared for the Stooges. I never cared for the Lower East Side crew, the CBGB crowd. But they did a lot to add to the texture, the vitality, and kind of like the pulse of the American musical scene. And even though I don't have to. In America, we always base everything upon whether we like it. Well, I don't watch cable news. Well, I don't have the Twitter. Give me a book. I like to smell it. But, who cares about whether you have or have? What? Who is it? Oh, it's a news conference. Uh-oh. Very good. There was a news conference right now. I don't know how to bring that up, ladies and germs, because I don't want to bring this up and risk some type of weird copyright problem. But we will. Let me see. Be my eyes and ears, honey. Let me know. What we do find out, by the way, is Charlie was. I kind of think this is what you were saying. He was more than a commentator. He was a builder. He's an organizer, a voice for young people. And I love people who go out, and I love kind of like a Union Square, so to speak. Thank you, Delilah. Delilah Vella, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, by the way. Thank you, Delilah. You're more than kind. Thank you for that. I like that you, what do you call that? Remember in the not Piccadilly Square, but in London, the speaker's corner. But I like people who are doing this as well and who are loud and just say something. I do not care what people. See, let me also say something to you. There are people that I deal with on a regular basis who have so many facets to them. One of my oldest pals. Really, and we are political, I think political opposites, but we're the best of friends. He's gay and left and the whole bit. It doesn't mean anything. It's of no interest to me what his sexuality is. It's of no interest to me what his politics are. I don't say anything to go out of my way. More people than you can imagine. I've got a dear friend of mine who is he's going through a bit of a health a glitch right now, and he's a lefty. And I said, I asked him, I said, "Are you feeling okay?" I said, "Why?" I said, "Well, you don't sound right." He said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "But you don't sound your usual batshit crazy." I said, "Maybe it's a medication. Whatever they're doing, I'm telling them to double up on it because you're a lunatic and we love each other." Politics mean nothing. We don't agree with anything. I don't get upset about things like that. I do not care. I love when somebody comes up and all of a sudden changes. Right now, there's something going on right now. I don't want to change the subject. And Charlie would not have agreed with this. But if you want to see something roiling up, it's Trump and Israel. It is so bad. It is so bad. It is I talked to a friend of mine today who's Russian, and we were kind of talking, and we were laughing. He says, "Oh my God," he's telling me the truth about what's going on in Ukraine, and I'm sure Charlie may have been for that. I don't know. Maybe I know Charlie was certainly maybe one of these AIPAC fellas. Hey, he could have taken a buck or two. I don't care. I understand how that works. Barry Weiss is getting $200 million to run CBS News. What? Huh? Taylor Lorenz, who, by the way, last week we couldn't stand her. Our good friend Tucker Carlson was driving him crazy or saying all kinds of things about Taylor Lorenz. Turns out she's correct because she exposes David Pakman for taking money from Chorus and being a shill for the left. And she's the left. You know who's making sense now? Greta Thunberg. And by the way, Greta came this far, this close, from getting some drone Hellfire missile taking her out. They basically told her, "We're not going to warn you again. We don't like what you're doing." Greta Thunberg makes complete and total sense regarding what she thinks as to Gaza. Absolutely, positively. I'm thinking, Greta, what? I'm doing, junk yogurt. Anna Kasparian makes sense regarding this. I don't agree with anything they say about anything else. So one of the arts of being an adult and one of the arts of being in the business is what I do. Let me tell you something. When you get upset politically, what do? You might talk to a husband, may talk to a wife, may talk to a spouse, may talk to a friend or a son or a sibling or a child or a neighbor, maybe a coworker, maybe somebody you have a beer with. But that's as far as it goes. I have been professionally immersed in all of the dreck of society politically since 1988. Okay? This is my 37th, this is my 38th year of doing this. Tomorrow's 9/11. This is because I'm so tired of talking about 9/11. You have no idea. I'm tired of it. Because nobody really wants to hear about 9/11. They just want to hear the usual stuff. But I've learned a long time ago there are people who say things I may not agree with. When I first heard Rush Limbaugh, I thought, what is this man talking about? Who are these liberals? Who are these crazy people he's talking about? The liberal that Rush talked about is nothing like we're seeing now. And Rush, by the way, I worked with him at WABC. He turned out to be the greatest thing, the nicest man you've ever met in your life. The last time I saw Mark Levin, sweetest guy in the world. Though I think he's batshit crazy when it comes to other stuff too. But that's just, I don't get upset. But I don't want to shoot anybody. I don't want anybody hurt. I don't want Greta Thunberg. I don't want Joy Behar hurt. I don't want Rosie O'Donnell, Robert De Niro. Nobody. I don't want anybody hurt, shot, beaten, bludgeoned, truncheon. Nothing. Violence doesn't even... What is this? So just remember, you don't have to like these people, but I think all of us can say, do I have an opinion? Irrespective of what other people say, we really don't want to have anybody hurt, harmed, or in any way bothered merely for saying something that we don't like, because we need... Joy Behar has recruited more Republicans than anybody you can imagine. Rosie O'Donnell has recruited more conservative Republicans than anybody you could ever imagine. Not Trump. And millions right now, millions of young people are searching for direction in a country that is completely and totally adrift. And Charlie Kirk believed in America's future, that they could be redeemed, that the next generation could maybe be reached with courage and conviction and fun and clarity, and maybe some schmaltz and some kind of camp. And he went there. He reminded me of the Maharaja. Remember that the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who was meditation. My God. I remember he would sit there. Robert Klein said he looked like a raisin on a cotton ball from like 9 miles away. Charlie Kirk's mission was about his family and about God. Breadmoth says, we don't obviously want anyone hurt, but this is a one-way street if you haven't noticed. Of course it is. Well, Bread, what do you want to do about it? Brad, that's all I've been talking about. That's all I've been talking about every day. Since 1988. One way or another, I've been talking about this stuff, my friend. One day. And I drive people absolutely crazy. I do it every day, Brad. Every day. I do YouTubes. I do this one. I've got Lionel Legal. I've got other ones. I'm on WABC. I do 4 hours overnight from 1 to 5 a.m. overnight. I tweet like a mofo. I've got three different Twitter channels. It's just me. It's just me. I don't have a producer. I don't have anybody. I don't have a cameraman. This is it. It's Mrs. L and me. That's it. I am immersed in this 24/7. This is all I do. This is really it. And if anybody's told you, it's not the most lucrative thing in the world to do, but I believe in the passion of it. I've always loved in being able to say, this is what I think. This is what I believe. And through the years, so I do what I do. So when you say, Bread Moth, I do this every day. I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, absolutely. But Charlie, and by the way, sometimes I thought some of the stuff he did I'm not going to besmirch a guy now. His style is his style. His style is his style. But he was talking about permanence and family and faith and nation. But let me tell you what happened. And I think you can tell me. I am from the generation that gave you the Democratic Party it was good. I loved I loved the way I thought liberals and progressives were. They were anti-war. They were pro-women's rights and gay rights and civil rights. And I thought it made sense. I used to be on WABC. Well, you know that. At WFLA. And I remember so many times when people had some weird thoughts about the South. People had these weird ideas about the South and about guns and about the stars and bars. Anything new? They have a suspect in custody? Closed circuit. Is he trans? Do we think about him? Okay, we're going to see this. Let's see what we have here. See, X is still the best. I go to the search engine. I go Charlie Kirk, and I put in suspect. And what do I see for suspect? I see unconfirmed witnesses identify suspect in Charlie Kirk. This is 3 hours ago. There was some poor nut they had originally. The subject of the horrific... Cash Patel says, the subject of the horrific shooting today that took the life of Charlie Kirk is now in custody. Thank you to the local and state authorities. Yeah, it's assassination, right. The account needs to be investigated ASAP. There are some people who are now... By the way, the folks who are themselves... The folks who are themselves. Oh, by the way, what is the difference between an assassination and a murder or a homicide? What is the definitional factors that elevate that? This is very important. Murder and homicide is basically general terms for one person unlawfully killing another. Actually, homicide is when somebody's cause of death is that at the hands of a human. For example, the death penalty, when you are executed, your death certificate says homicide as the type of death. Don't forget, 4 types of homicide, 4 types of death, if you will, sources of death. NASH, the acronym NASH, NASH, natural, accidental, suicide, homicide, actually unexplained also, which is no kidding. So it's NASH. But homicide is neutral, just means the taking of the life or being responsible for the death of a person, you as a human. Now, an assassination is a specific type of murder. Murder, by the way, remember, is not homicide. Murder is not manslaughter. Is not murder. Murder is the intentional and deliberate taking of the life of another human being unlawfully, with a malice aforethought and premeditation. Manslaughter, second degree. Well, second degree murder is depraved heart, depraved indifference, heat of passion, blah, blah, blah. But assassination is a specific type. It is the deliberate killing of a prominent, say it again, prominent person, usually for political, ideological, or symbolic reasons. Think of Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King. The defining feature isn't just the death, but the motive and the target's public role. So all assassinations are murders, but not all murders are assassinations. And it's important to recognize that. One of the goals we used to say years ago, we used to joke. We said, what are your dreams? What are your hopes? What are your desires? I said, well, one day you've had it big, where if God forbid anything ever happened to you, the person who dispatched you, your particular dispatch would be considered assassination versus murder. See, that makes sense? Amen. Let me see. Some Pilgrim says, when I was 16, I got on the the poor Native American kick. My dad said, if you care, go help them. He shut me up. Very good. Breadmaw says, difference is political and subject matter. The subject matter, if the person is prominent, you're basically trying to shut them up or down by virtue of what they are politically, what they are philosophically. Person of interest in custody per Governor Live, that is correct. And we're looking right now, and thank you for that, Gracie. We're looking to see if this is true, because I am also looking, I told you, at X. Always go to X. X is critical because X gives us the latest. And there's some folks, some of you sleuths out there, some of you fellers who are going through various interesting. This was the first stop on Charlie's tour. And let me see this. Daily Wire says Charlie Kirk has passed away. I don't know if that's passed away. You see, words matter. Words are, we have a very precise vocabulary. We're the ones who say, for example, cutting up a tree versus cutting down a tree. Big difference. Big difference. Even our cursing, which I'll say for some other day. But we don't know yet. And we're going to find out what happens. I'm surprised there was not something immediately figured out at the moment. But Charlie Kirk was indeed assassinated. There's no doubt about it. The chance of somebody saying, "Oh, he was assassinated. Oh, I was aiming for the other guy." No, there's no other aspect to it. But I think what we're doing is we are honoring heroism. And I think Charlie probably thought, yeah, there's a chance, but nobody really thinks about it. See, the problem with this, Charlie, is that if you want to involve yourself in any particular public endeavor, you think about that, but not really. Because, why do I say this? 99.99999% of everybody doesn't have to worry about this. But we right now are honoring his heroism. The dignity with which he carried his battles. He was never mean or angry towards anybody. And we refuse to let the radical left define the moment as anything other than what it is. It was an assassination born of hatred, cheered on by those who cannot win arguments, and so they resort to violence. It's who they are. They are the people who brought us Antifa. They are the ones who brought us BLM. They are the most violent people you can imagine. They don't just want you to accept what they're doing. They will take you to task. They will beat the snot out of you in order to get you to understand and accept what they're doing. They don't care about your opinion. Your opinion means nothing to them. Their lifestyle matters. The way they live matters. And you can say anything you want. They don't care. Who do you think you are? Who specifically do you think you are to tell them what they can and can't do? They are of no interest have no interest in what you have to say. And they're guided by one thing. They were brought together initially by this Trump derangement syndrome. They were brought together by this, which is like nothing we've ever seen. Now, listen to me. You and me right now have to decide something. Are we going to allow political bloodshed to become normalized and habituated and accustomed and conditioned? Or are we going to become normalized to it? Are we going to stand firm and reject this poison? Who's going to carry forward the mission of Charlie Kirk? The mission that he gave his life for. What do you think? What are you doing? How do you spend? How do you plan on doing this? What do you do to exercise your particular faith? Now, or your ideation, I should say. Now, before we move on, let me see if there's anything. Now we're saying, who is Erica Fransby, Charlie Kirk's wife, former Miss Arizona? By the way, we really don't need to. We don't need to know this. I know because Charlie still has kids. Charlie has, I think sometimes we create the very target. You know what I'm saying? I think we create the target, and I think we sometimes make them a bigger target by virtue of what we say and that sort of thing. Now, let me move on. Gateway Pundit reads as follows. Footage shows individual running across roof of Losi Center moments after Charlie Kirk's assassination. This is very interesting. A shocking new video. That shows an alleged shooter running above the roof. You know, I don't know how these things are looked at or scoured. I don't know if Charlie Kirk receives any of the information or any of the data, any of the security reminders and the like. I don't know how that works, but I would think it would probably be a good idea for him to do that, and for him to hire, and maybe Turning Point could help that. I think there should be people who basically run through this security agent, and especially if he insists upon doing these events, which he obviously cannot anymore, thanks to the assassin. But it's something that I'm thinking more and more about. We never had to worry about any of this stuff. Nobody ever thought about this. Nobody really ever had to worry about any of this stuff in the past. Let me see. Make the Dream says, let's have a re-election. Let's have a re-election U.S. against them. I don't know what that means, but I like the sound of it. Woodchuck says, do you think it's possible that toxic Marxist ideology can have a critical mass? Can hit a critical mass to where the hatred is so penetrating that acts like today became the rule and not the exception? It could, but do you know any Marxists? I do. That's not their thing. Their idea is not against the United States. They don't exact this. It's about class warfare. It's about elevated forms of socialism. We have a guy who's running for mayor in our city named Zoran Mamdani. And Zoran Mamdani, people keep calling some kind of a leftist. He's a lunatic. He might be a leftist, but he's not a communist. And they say he's a communist. He believes in a welfare state. He believes in the nanny state. He believes in and I've got one friend. One's definitely a socialist. Could be a communist. I don't know. He says he's not. And one is a Marxist or Marxian. And both of them are furious with anybody who tries to conflate what Zoran Mamdani is saying with what they believe in. Because they're saying they're not Marxist. Do me a favor. Whenever you're arguing something, don't use words like anti-Semitic, Satanism, evil, anti-Semitic, Islamophobic. Don't get away from the argument of the, how do I say this? Don't get away from the argument of the time being. Don't bring up a code or something that has nothing to do with that. I don't know why so many people in our country think that Marxist means violent or totalitarian or I don't know what. I don't know where that came from. When I was in school, in high school, in Jesuit high school, we had problems. Well, it was civics class. Problems with American democracy. And I remember hearing for the first time this notion of planned economies and what communism means. And most people today. But we have this royal Class A jerk-off running for mayor named Zoran Mamdani. Zoran the moron. And he espouses something which is just, I don't know what good jails are for. Marxists believe in jails. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So do commies. Yeah. What's this guy talking about? You don't think communist? You don't ask Castro or Xi Jinping, who's a commie. Those communists they are alive and well. Not in Russia. You'd be surprised people who still refer to Putin as being KGB. Is like, no, they haven't had the KGB. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But so remember, don't make this. Dare I say, don't make this any more complicated than you have to. Now, the thing is, what's going to happen? Let me ask you, my friends, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think the Republican Party is going to do in response to what's going on? What do you think? Anybody? 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 What are the Republicans going to do? Nothing. Thank you, Zane. Nothing. Nothing. What's Trump going to do? Nothing. They're going to make it a federal case. Okay. What does that do? I don't know. The stuff that we went after, we went after Julian Assange. That guy is a bloody hero. We went after him. They're still not going. Listen to this to show you how nuts they are. They're saying that the whole thing about Epstein depends upon whether we can authenticate the pubist art of one Donald Trump, which is bizarre. Woodchuck says, "Are you kidding? Not violent. Stalin's USSR. Great purge kill. No. It wasn't. No. They did it. They did it. They did it. Hitler was not a communist. He fought the communists. Again, I appreciate it. I love it. This isn't for Chuck. I don't want to take Charlie's date of death to be arguing. Mao was a totalitarian. Let me take you a step further. There are people right now in the Dominican Republic, in Haiti, during Duvalier, some of the most totalitarian stuff you've ever seen. You want to go to Saudi Arabia? You want to talk about totalitarian? Please, I beg you. You say Stalin communist. No, they fought within the party. They're saying, what are you doing? This isn't Marx. What are you doing? Trotsky, others. Even Che Guevara was upset with Castro. They said, this isn't, so please, I love you, man. That's not Stalin. To be a communist doesn't mean you're going to imprison people or kill people, and Mao more than anybody else. No. Look at some of the most totalitarian, theocratic regimes. Let's go to Saudi Arabia right now. I'm telling you right now. Ask women. Ask what's going on. Ask the way they... No. Believe me. Stay out of this one. Stay out of this one. Please. And do me a favor. I love you, man. Spend some time asking what makes up, what are the elements of this? Again, our ignorance is showing. We don't know. We use terms. Ask somebody who is in Israel, what is primarily your political belief? And they'll say socialist. Socialism. It's a planned economy. It's an economic system. They're not. Anyway. We use these terms all the time. It's stay away from that one. Believe me, they will laugh you silly if you dare try this. You know what? You know most of us are anarchists. Oh yeah, you're an anarchist. Absolutely. You are an anarchist. And one of the things that you hate is when somebody who just pushes you around, but has no particular authority to do so. The first thing you always ask is, how can you, who are you telling me to do what? Who are you? Excuse me, what? Who gave you the right? Who? That's anarchy. Anarchy versus hierarchy. Different story. The world is anarchic. Countries are anarchists. Why? There's nobody above them. There's nobody to call. They don't call 911 if they're invaded. They're anarchists. There's no hierarchy above them. It's just like the opposite of cosmos is chaos. So remember, spend a good week, study every term possible, and then we'll talk about that. The bottom line is simply this. If the shooter's not dead, they're going to charge him with some kind of, okay, I think the federal death penalty would apply. If that's not a civil rights violation, I have no idea. I don't know. I have to look and see. Death penalties, drug trafficking, certain things. I don't know if the death penalty would apply. Well, the state, yes. Oh, absolutely. The state of Utah. Do they still do, wasn't Gary Gilmore, do they still do firing squads? I don't know. Remember, there's state government and there's federal government. State jurisdiction, federal jurisdiction. Don't let Pam Bondi get in there and say, let me have that. I'll take care of this. We'll make a list out of it. I've got a binder. I've got a list on my desk of all of the victims of Epstein, and by gum, I am going to release all of these names, these files, these documents, these lists, the black book entries, the passenger manifest. That was a limited hangout. You know, and I know. But we're talking about Charlie Kirk. This guy could have been, senator, president, something. You know who else reminds me like that? Is who is our friend in Jersey? The young man? Scott Pressler. Scott Pressler is wonderful. Scott Pressler, one of the hardest working, one of the best. He's not one of these folks who sits around on cable news shows with hair and makeup and all the Botox and that Mar-a-Lago look and just, what are you kidding me? This is about Charlie Kirk. What happened to his organization? He was Turning Point. He did it. He made a lot of money and he did a lot of good things. He was the voice of that. He was the voice of it. Who is today? Who's the replacement? Who is the person today? Who? Nobody. Candace Owens? No. Laura Loomer? No. Too dangerous, but effective. Nikki Fuentes? Forget it. No. Who is the Who is the new voice for the young people? Who is it? Tucker. No. Registered Republicans vote in Charlie's honor. They should be doing this. You're right. They should be doing this in the first place. The Republicans don't do anything. They're the biggest, the worstless sacks o' shite you've ever seen. Here we go. Oh, no. Oh, we're arguing about this. Marxism is the ideological basis of communism. Directly inspired Stalin's purges, Mao's cultural revolution, and Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge, where leaders applied Marxist-Leninist doctrines to justify mass violence. No! Again, in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh didn't do that. No, the people who use the greatest example, the greatest amounts of totalitarian, please don't do this. Thank you. I mean, we could argue this, but does anybody here really want to debate this? Charlie Kirk died, and we're debating. And I thank you, by the way. You're very kind and very generous. But does anybody really want to hear now about what inspired the Mao purge? Do you think the re-education had anything to do? What? What do you think Saddam Hussein was? What was that? Communism? No. It's totalitarian. It's anyway. Please. No. Now, Nick Fuentes, by the way, Faye, is not the right person because Nick Fuentes is too young. He just likes to say terrible things about black people and Jews, and that's not a good idea. You get past that. You get past that. You get past this idea of wanting to shock people. You know, where you want to go out there and you want to make all kinds of problems. You want to say terrible things about the Jews, and hey, isn't that great? Look how they hate me. Look how they hate me. No, that's not good. Laura Loomer is she's very good. She's very pro-Trump, but she is absolutely, positively, insanely, I don't know if it's Zionist. I don't even know if I don't know what her thing is, but no. What is going on in Gaza, you don't want to call it a genocide? I'm with you. That's another one, Brad. You don't agree with this. Don't call it a genocide. Don't do it. Because then you spend the whole time saying, well, is it really genocide? Just call it a mass murder. Whatever you want to call it. Don't give it a name. So then instead of you talking about the merits of the case, you end up arguing whether it's genocide or whether was the intent manifested. If you read article, what is it? The 1948 Genocide Convention, everything's genocide. OA says, I don't think Americans fully grasp the great loss you face today. Charlie Kirk was a national treasure. Thank you. Thank you for bringing it back. I don't either. This was the best and the brightest. I'm asking, who today, can you tell me who is not just a young person, but who today had the organizational power, who believed in a lot of the prototypically conservative precepts of faith in God and Christianity and family, and who? Matt Walsh? No. Tucker? Please. No, Tucker's a little bit of a limited hangout. He's good. Tucker's still trying to figure out who he is. Tucker spent a lot of time talking about, I stopped drinking. I was in bed one night. I was attacked by a demon who scratched me. It's like, Tucker, please, cut this shit out. What are you talking about? Who? Tolerance of liberalism is submission to evil. Do you believe Benny Johnson? Benny Johnson doesn't know the difference between, he calls people pederasts. He's okay. Benny wants to, listen, God love people. But Benny wants to be a star. Tucker's Charlie was different. I mean, he might want to be a star, but his whole goal was, I think, more of the mission, not look at me. Woodchuck says, Charlie Kirk was battling the left and their toxic left and their insane ideology. The killer today was infected by his leftist virus. That's why it matters. Love you. I love you too. But do me a favor. Until I find out who this is, I don't know what. I'm presuming. You're probably right, but we're presuming. We're presuming. You know what you're doing? You're profiling. You're profiling. You are profiling. And so far, we don't have any. You're okay for this. But remember, let's see what it is. See what the person has. See what the person is. See. Let me give you an example. Sometimes you think people are something and they're not. Jeffrey Dahmer's lawyer. Did you ever hear this story? I knew Jeffrey Dahmer's lawyer. This was Jerry Boyle. Jerry Boyle had his own problems, but Jerry Boyle was a good egg. And we were out partying one night. Not partying, that sounded weird, but no, just having fun. And one night, just bear with me, he represented years ago Jeffrey Dahmer in some matter that had nothing to do with criminal or whatever. So anyway, when Jeffrey Dahmer, when they had all the problems and the deaths and the murders and all that, the detectives called up and say, we got the guy who did this. He says, oh my God, who was he? He goes, Jeffrey Dahmer. He says, who's Jeffrey Dahmer? He says, he was one of your clients. He says, you represented him and he wants you to represent him. He says, Jeffrey Dahmer? I don't even, wait a minute. No, not that guy. Tall guy, big, goes, oh no, he didn't do it. He was the most boring person you've ever met. No, not him. He said, yeah, him. He goes, no, believe me. Well, sure enough, Jeffrey Dahmer. And Jerry Boyle said, wow. I mean, this was big for any kind of lawyer. You represent the serial killer. And at one particular point, the cop said to Jerry, would you do us a favor? This might help ultimately. I don't know how much it's going to help your client. They're going to burn this guy. But would you ask him why they found certain configurations of skulls in his refrigerator, in a particular pyramidal geometric kind of a configuration? So they said, what does this mean? Can you ask Jeffrey? Ask him, what does it mean? Can you find out? He goes, okay. So he said, Jeffrey, why did you put the skulls in? He said, real estate. He said, real estate. Okay, I see. Well, what does that mean, Jeffrey? Real estate what? And it was ridiculous. The answer was, there was no reason. There was no reason. If tomorrow somebody decides to read a Mark Levin book and go on and take out an LGBT family or something, you would say, wait a minute, that's nothing to do with Mark Levin. He never said that. Yeah, but this is that typical. That's where we get with liberal. We love to speak in code words. Liberalism, don't get me started with that. Wrong term, progressive, I don't know. Call it woke. Woke, I'll give it to you. Woke, I'll agree with. This isn't liberalism. Not even close. They're not liberals. They can't define what liberal is. I don't understand it. Again, with labels. Well, these, liberals it's a mental illness. No, woke is a mental illness. Liberalism is not. Liberalism is what you want. You want free speech? What's funny, the right, interestingly enough, what used to be called the left is now the most bellicose. I did an interview the other day with, I hope you saw it, Douglas McGregor, Colonel McGregor, phenomenal man, and Scott Ritter, not simultaneously different. Scott Ritter, former Marines, weapons instructor, phenomenal man. Both men, hard, charging, military dudes. Okay, you got that? You got that? Okay. So we're talking about things, they sound almost like pacifists. So are they liberals? No. Again, with labels, you got to stay away from these. I know there's shorthand word that we use, terms that we use. We do them all the time. These liberals they're not liberals, but that's okay. Well, here's the best part. There's going to be a race war in this country, and nobody wants to hear me. Now, I'm not advocating. I don't want this. But I said, you got to understand something. There are roving gangs, hordes, passels, murmurations, schools, troops, tribes, herds, packs, whatever you want to call them, of violent, young, violent, antisocial, black citizens. Many women wearing bonnets on their head. When you see a bonnet, run. Used to be the hoodie. The hoodie was gang. Now it's the bonnet. Some guy refers to it as La Fonda. Okay. Now somebody says, you can't say that. I said, damn right I can say that. That's exactly what's going on. Just pay attention. I'm not saying black people do that. These black people do it. I could take you to some parts of New York and downtown and Williamsburg and a little bit of even Jersey. But I could take you to the Bronx. I could take you to the West Side, as we used to say. And I'll introduce you to men who are a member, allegedly, of a certain organization by invitation only. And they have a allegiance or some kind of genealogical connection to a particular country. And that country is Sicily. Did you know that? Yeah. And if you want to go after this organization, you go after Sicilians. You don't look for the Swedes. You start with the Sicilians. Not all the Sicilians are a member of this organization, but all of the members of the organization are Sicilian. See how that works? It's exactly how that works. And that's what we're looking at right now. So when you want to name all kinds of things like liberals or whatever, be very, very careful. There's going to be one lunatic out there who's going to say whatever it is. I don't know why. The last person, who was this person who said he hated Trump and what was it? It was the church. It was the church shooter. Hear about him, her, it, they, their, whatever the pronoun is. Remember the last shooter who shot through the plate glass window, shot those two kids? Did you read her manifesto? Hated Trump, hated everybody. Hated Israel, hated everybody. This guy. So what are you going to call that one? I don't know. Everybody went in to jump on that one until they realized, shit, he hates everybody. Stay away from the labels. Stay away from the labels. I'm a native Floridian. I'm a cracker. Second generation. Florida. Okay? Worked in the State Attorney's Office, 13th Judicial Circuit, Hillsborough County, under Harry Coe, E.J. Salsinas, Bill James, the whole bit. The whole crew. And Florida's got this great first-degree murder statute. Basically, if you kill somebody and you meant to do it and you had a little bit of premeditation, you're looking at the death penalty if we can show factors of the case. Heinous, premeditated, whatever it was. In New York, you got to be a policeman. You got to kill somebody. You got to kill a guard on duty after midnight. There's all these. No. Florida says no. Very simple. And that's what we should do this here. And I'm not necessarily a fan of the death penalty, but sometimes if you got to do certain things to get people's attention, maybe that's it. And I think this person, I hope that his family is taken care of by all these big donors. I hope that she'll never have to work a day in her life to raise her kids and that mortgages are paid off and all that kind of jazz, because he was a hero. There's no doubt about it. He was a hero. He got off his ass and did it. I'll bet he banked more money. You don't see Ben Shapiro doing that, do you? Hell no. I don't blame him. You don't see Candace Owens doing that, do you? Tucker going out and meeting people in a crowd? That might be foolhardy. You're not going to be seeing too many of these crowds anymore. That's for sure. But he got off his ass and did something, because most of the people that I know, we have, for example, in New York, we have all these Republican clubs. They don't do a goddamn thing. I don't know what they do. If I had in New York, if I had a group called the Do Nothings, wasn't that the one group? It's kind of like the Know Nothings or something. Anyway, if I said the Do Nothing, if I said we have no meetings, no dues, no bylaws, no requirements, they wouldn't even do that. They'll end up showing up just to confound. But Charlie Kirk did something. He got off his ass and he did something. He did something. Here in New York, we expect Democrats who are going to vote for Zoran Mamdani to somehow watch cable news, conservative cable news, and change their mind as we mock them. They believe this. Well, you're a communist. He's not a communist. If anything else, he's a globalist, because what he's doing is what he wants to do. All his free stuff basically involves how do I say this? It involves a lot of interesting Peter Thiel kind of biometrics in this. Oh, you want free. Oh, you want a free bus ride? Okay, here, but give me your name and your card, so we're going to find out where you're going and we're going to limit where you're going. Oh, you want free food? Okay, we'll give you free food. That's not communism. That's called a nanny state, a welfare state. But we want to know what you're eating and where you live and all that. We want to control you. It's Peter Thiel. It's Peter Thiel. It's Palantir. Woodchuck says, here we go. Are we still on this again? Assuming Charlie Kirk's assassination by a white leftist, 99% possibility, signals escalating class war. Radicals targeting conservative elites amid economic divides, not racial strife. Pure ideological fury. Radicals targeting conservative elites amid economic divides, not racial strife. Interesting. The problem is we don't have enough people doing this. And thank God, we have one person. We have one person. Even the as you would call them, the liberals are lazy too. They're not doing anything. So, I mean, when they took out John Kennedy, when CIA and Deep State took him out, when Thane Eugene Caesar killed Bobby Kennedy, and we know who he is. We know his name. Bobby Kennedy Jr. knows who he is. Probably James Earl Ray didn't kill Martin Luther King. So, do you think one person who takes out Charlie Kirk? Now, let me also ask you something. And this is important. Listen to me carefully. If I was the leader of what you call the liberals or the leftists or whoever they are, I would say, why did you just martyr this individual? Why? Why did you make this person a hero? Why? Why did you do this? Why did you do this? What are you doing? This man is a hero. He now is going to, the recruitment is going to go, he gave his life for his country. He gave his life for his message. Look what these radical left bastards are doing. Thank you. Way to go. Nobody's applauding this. There's a lot of people out there, believe it or not, who are left or whatever it is, and they believe in they want to redistrict. And now they're thinking, they just set us back. This is not the way to do it. I know you're not going to see it that way, but believe me, it's true. You don't like this guy. This isn't the way we do this. We're not going to take people out like this. Nancy Pelosi's going, oh, for Christ's sake. And let me tell you who else is very upset about this is this Zoran Mamdani here in New York. He's thinking, oh, shit. There's Raul, my friends. Hello, Raul. Think about that one. Now, if you're a lefty, you're going to say, are you a part of this? You a part of this? You believe in this bloodshed? This man was 31 years old. He was a father with 2 kids. He said, hey, don't look at me. So we have to make it theirs. We have to say it's their, it's what they want to do, irrespective of whether it's not true or not. So that's it. So what I want to say to you, my friends, is simply this. Let us stop for a moment. I wish we didn't get off on this. But I do want to thank Raul and thank Woodchuck is terrific. Woodchuck, you were great. Oh, hey, thank you. Woodchuck was all today. Oh, Clonus Steve Dream Killer. As a former trauma surgeon turned neurologist, I can tell you that Charlie died on that stage. He didn't make it to the hospital, but Republicans will do nothing. Yeah, I thought so too. You know, it's funny. They said he was shot in the neck, but actually, I saw his shirt go up. I don't know. I thought that was pretty much. I didn't want to say that. What do I know? What do I know? But Woodchuck, thank you, my friend. Dickie, thank you. Gracie loves George. Gracie, thank you. Bread Moth, again, thank you. Let me see what else is there. Pilgrim Media, Pill, thank you so much for that. Delilah Vela. Reginaldo Villalón. Muchísimas gracias, señor. Thank you. De nalgas hasta los huevos. Let me see what else is here. I gotta thank this. Oh, Mantoni Nick. Thank you, Mantoni Nick. Frankie, thank you, buddy. Thank you so much, my friend. You're a good man there, Charlie Brown. Let's see, Behemoth in there. Yeah, I got that. Great. And Adam, who is a new member. Oh, Prometheus Forever says, long time no see, Lionel. The Charlie killer said he heard voices telling him to kill the woman and a phone call released from jail. Before hearing this, what came to mind was Manchurian Candidate. No. Well, maybe. No, it's also psychotic, schizophrenic. Happens all the time. And thank you, by the way, for your kindness. No, what happened also, we heard at one time, there was a person, some psycho, some schizoid, some ambulatory type, who pushed a woman into the front of an oncoming car, subway. And he said, why'd you do that? He said, I heard the voices. Now, what's interesting about that, listen to this. As you know, in the case of Mr. D. Carlos, in the murder of Irina, in order for him to be successful and to be found not guilty by reason of insanity, he has to show that he did not know the difference between right and wrong. He did not know the difference between right and wrong. He did not know the difference between right and wrong. So when they ask him, D. Carlos, did you know there was a law against that? Yeah. When you after you killed her, you didn't just hang around. You got up and you left, right? Get away, didn't you? Yeah. Because you knew it was wrong. Didn't you? Yeah. And when you went to the hospital, you kind of hid what you did because you thought it was wrong. You didn't tell people how you cut your hand. Did you? No. You got away because you thought it was wrong. Because you knew the difference between right and wrong. And it happens all the time. But what he can say is, yes, I know, but the reason why I did it wasn't because I didn't know the wrong. The reason why I did it was because the voices told me to do it. That's why I did it. And that's why many people are asking for the insanity defense to be altered. Keep it like it is. Keep it like it is. I've got around the insanity defense. Anytime you show any awareness of guilt, any awareness of culpability, any awareness that there are laws that apply when you're trying to get away, you're trying to conceal yourself, you're giving stories, you're saying, I know there's something wrong with it. I know I committed a crime. That's it. So forget the insanity defense. That ain't going to work. He can be as loony as you want. Under the McNaughton rule, it's not going to work. It never works. It's never successful. Never. The only time it worked was when it was John Hinckley. By the way, not David Hinckley. We always say David Hinckley in New York. And this poor guy was he was a radio columnist. We always say, when David Hinckley tried to kill Reagan, I said, he did? I didn't know that. No, John Hinckley. Anyway. So, no, that's a different story. Oh, they're going to break it off with this guy. Oh. See, I would love to have him, to move him to federal custody. And I would take him to one of these places that is, because I think you probably show civil rights violation to invoke federal jurisdiction. But in any event, I would have one of those special, have you ever heard about this? These special places they're almost like not abandoned, but refurbished, like Air Force bases. And there's a portion where it's easy. They have like one prisoner, two prisoners, just one guy. And they walk around in paper gowns all the time. They say they're a suicide risk when they're not. But you say they are. And you make them wear paper gowns all the time. They're in a rubber room. It's the worst hell there is. Everything they do, every food, everything is in a styrofoam cup. Nothing's wrapped. It's horrible. Oh, it's torture. Let them live like that for a while. Just before we figure out what to do with them. There's also something in the prison system called noose on a bun, where they will provide you with the precursor to a particular poison, followed by the follow-up later on. The follow-up mixes with the first, kicks in, and by virtue of the synergistic combination, which is what people thought happened to Epstein before it was proved beyond a reasonable doubt that they killed him by virtue of the hyoid bone and thyroid cartilage being shattered. So anyway, my friends, thank you. Let us do this right now. Stop. Let's have just a little moment, just a moment, just a silence. Think about Charlie Kirk, not Mao, not anybody else. Just think about Charlie Kirk, just for a moment. Just focus on him. His family, his wife, his children, his legacy, his parents, I would imagine they're around, siblings, friends, people who just knew him and liked him. He won't be coming home. Think about that. Moment of silence. Thank you. Charlie, we're not going to forget you, buddy boy. Your legacy lives on. We're not going to let you be forgotten. You hear what I'm saying? We're not going to do it. We are carrying on. We are going to bust balls and take down names. Your name will live on. Of all the people you actually try to do. Scott Pressler, too. The young man does exactly. He tries to change things in terms of voting rules. But Charlie Kirk did it. Between turning points and actually going, and it's going to make people reconsider public appearances again. That's very sad. But Charlie, we're going to be thinking about you, and thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing this moment. Thank you. And I appreciate it. All right, my friends, have a great and a glorious day. Don't forget tonight, I hope you caught Mrs. L this morning on the overnights on WABC, 1 to 2 a.m. Wednesday or Warrior Wednesdays. Oh, unbelievable. So anyway, that'll be tomorrow as well. Tonight, 1 a.m. So anyway, have a great night, my friends. Thank you so much. We'll talk tomorrow. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your contributions and donations. We'll talk then. Until we meet again, my friends, remember this very, 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 very simple word. Monkey's dead. Show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.